You doing great, best dirty lemonade.
We have two guests, actually.
We do have two guests.
One who doesn't feel like a guest because she's here often.
Yes.
But the other one just graced us with her presence. What up, Corey?
What's up?
So, Corey, for those who don't know you, tell us who you are and, how you got into cannabis. Tell us your canna story.
Corey Lowe, Libra, long walks on the beach.
Do you hold hands on these walks?
With myself.
Okay.
Self-love.
Self-love.
Love
That's the only love we get.
That's it. If you don't have self-love, then what do you have?
What do you have?
Shout out to Starship.
I was just about to say, what's Starship? Never mind.
If you live in Atlanta, you know what Starship is.
And grew up in the 90s. That was our only source of, you could go in and get papers or incense. And
I love how PC you're being. So, I grew up in a place called Orlando, Florida. And we used to have this sex store called Premier Adult Factory Outlet. And they had a song, right, that would play on the commercials. It's like, if you know the song, you're from Orlando. I guarantee your husband,
What time of the day?
who's also from Orlando, knows this song. Oh, all times. They had money.
Oh, so they're just playing this sex store song
All
all day
commercials. Premier Adult Factory Outlets takes you where you want to go.
Wow. No, but I mean, do you know any sex shops that have a theme song?
No. Well, I could make one up though.
Oh, we know you could.
You're a marketer. We're sure you can make it.
Yeah, we know you could.
I'm like Jamie Foxx on the Jamie Foxx show after he got his new job.
Oh, yeah.
The jingles. Yeah, I was saying.
Turn your mics. You guys, we're not picking you guys up.
I'm like Jamie Foxx from the Jamie Foxx show when he got his new job making jingles.
Hey, Jamie.
Why, yes, you are. So it seems that I asked Corey a question and then I totally didn't give her a chance to answer. So let's get back to that. So, Corey, can you tell us your story? You see what I did there?
we just roll with it. I was in law enforcement, unfortunately. City of Clarkston. Shout out to one of the first cities to decrim.
Was that the first city?
One of.
Well, shout out to also Canamedic and Chris Brown for being instrumental in that. Not the wild Chris Brown, but the tame Chris Brown.
If we can take their blueprint and duplicate whatever Chris Brown, Canamedic, all the people who advocated, if we can do that all over the state, then that's what we need to do to at least decrim, in my opinion.
For sure. I believe a statewide decrim is a great first step to figuring out how to really push the cannabis culture forward in Georgia. But I'm going to stop interrupting you. So tell me.
No.
Tell me your story. Tell me how you got here. Yeah.
How do you go from law enforcement to
It's funny.
cannabis industry?
This lady reached out to me on Facebook, and her husband was a CHIP, California Highway Patrol, on the motorcycle,
wow.
back in the 90s. And she said, hey, my husband's a police officer. My kid has seizures and autism. I make his medicine. I'm like, well, awesome, kudos. And then I started corresponding with her. And of course, because my name is Corey, a lot of people don't expect me. At the time, my profile picture was Dave Matthews from Dave Matthews Band. She didn't know who he was. She thought I was trying to pursue her. And she kept saying, I'm married. I'm like, me too. She's like, but I'm not in open. I'm like, how do you?
Me neither. Okay.
I just want to know more about how you're saving your kid. She's like, but I'm married. I'm like, again with this. So we just went round and round. And eventually I found out she was getting flour and making RSO, Rick Simpson oil, Pico, for her son. And she was able to stop his seizures. And I was like, why don't I have that ability? Because I live in Georgia. I was in law enforcement. Talked to my captain and I was like, hey, I want to do this for my daughter, and got 2 thumbs down. And so I said 2 middle fingers back.
Love that.
Family first. And so I said I need to resign from law enforcement, and then gathered with a group of other parents who also had kids with seizures. And we all it was in 2013, and then 2014 legislative session, we had a small army, mommy lobby, and we just went to the Capitol and were relentless, sleeping there, bringing our kids with seizures. Like my daughter had a seizure that took 4 Georgia State Patrol troopers to carry her out because she's, strong. And I think those seeing that firsthand got into the lawmakers where they had to do something the following year.
Wow, that's such a touching story. How long did it take? So tell us more about the legislative process. Like, how did you go from your daughter having a seizure to changing the law in Georgia?
It's funny you ask. We met at a lady's house, and my kids were at the time maybe 10 and 11. And they said, come on, we got to go learn about pot.
Okay.
I wish I had that at 10 and 11.
Really?
I don't know how they're going to turn out on the end, but because there's always a story. The car battery died, and I'm parked in the garage this way, but the battery in this type of vehicle is on the back. So we're running in a cord through the car. We have my daughter with her seizures, 2 kids, and a service dog, and an HHR. We look like a clown car.
Oh my God.
And we need to get to this lady's house because Channel 2, Lori Geary, WSB is going to be there for an interview with all these seizure parents. And then I was determined. I don't know how to jump a battery, but
We getting out of here.
we're going to jump a battery. And that's what we did. And when the kids are like, we're going to go learn about pot. Let's go learn. And we come in like the circus we are with the dog and the kids and we got everybody's attention. This nice house in Smyrna. And I'm looking at all these other families who are nice, normal, well put together. And I know we don't fit in. And that's okay. And I had an honest conversation with Lori Geary. And of course, she didn't put those parts on there that were very honest, which that's okay. But I said, I would like to hear my daughter speak. She's never talked. And I want her to say, I love you, or mom, or something. Just let me know she's in there. And we got together with the parents. We got this lobbyist. And he said, at the time, we didn't have anybody. We had no Alan Peake, nobody as a champion. We've had other people in the past, like Senator Kurt Thompson, who put in a decrim bill, didn't make it. Representative Margaret Kaiser, whose mom decrimmed, and she was the mayor in Athens. She put in a bill. It didn't work. So we really didn't have anybody as far as a legislator. And they said we needed, and I'm just sad to say this, and it's the truth, but they said we needed a white, middle-aged Republican male in order to get anything passed with medical marijuana, specifically in Georgia.
And that sounds like it kind of tracks, though. I'm not really surprised. They're like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. Like, I feel like that's true in a lot of different places.
You're right.
If you want the easiest path forward or the most welcoming reception from people of all different races, like, it's not even just on one side, it's just the overall kind of context that the world has created for some reason.
Even though it's a bipartisan issue.
Yeah, but the world is the world.
And so each parent was responsible for reaching out to their senator and their representative. So that was the homework assignment. You go back to your area, reach out to yours, you go back to yours. So everybody was to reach out to their senator and their representative, because you each have one from each, one senator, one representative, to represent their constituents. And that's kind of what we did in the meantime until we got to the session. And then it just so happened to be Janaea Cox, who's the mother of Haley's Hope, was in Alan Peake's district, just right at the line. He in fact said, reach out to your legislator. And she's like, well, if you look at the line, I'm right here. And he kind of had a hand in that. Haley was at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta at Eggleston, and Alan Peake was at the Capitol. And he said, I'm going to go down there and meet this little girl. And Lori Geary just happened to be there and was able to capture on camera the first time he met Haley. And he was sold because he imagined his granddaughter. And that's how she became the face of the medical marijuana.
And so that bill's actually called Haley's Hope.
Haley's Hope Act.
Haley's Hope Act. Okay. And so there were how many kids involved though? Like 18 maybe?
At least to help. Yes. There was a lot.
Okay, cool.
A lot.
And so how's your daughter doing today?
Ooh. She needs whole plant, full access to safe cannabis. Period. Like, we have what we have in Georgia, which is low THC, which like more than I know, that's a drop in the bucket.
Low THC oil, in fact. We don't even have flower in Georgia.
Exactly. And Victoria is nonverbal. She can't talk. So I feel like I am her voice by default. And we come from a family of people who advocate. Like, my grandma in the 50s spoke against segregation. So I feel like it's in our DNA to stand up and speak. And I feel like if she could speak, she would say, I want access to this medicine because it may or may not work, but I at least want to try it. And so when you ask how is she today, still having seizures. And when I say seizures, she goes from standing to dropping. So she's 220 pounds and her arms extend out. So she's going face forward. Wow. So you have to be there 24/7 to catch her, because I can't tell you how many times she's hit the concrete, the stove, just in the kitchen, just in the driveway. At church one time, they asked us to sign a waiver not to sue them because she had a seizure at church. I'm like, wow, I'm not suing you. She has seizures everywhere. And that's just our life. And so until we have access to more medicine, it is what it is.
That just goes to speak about the society we live in, right? Everybody's so litigious. But after the passage of the Haley's Hope Act and the access to the low THC oil, have you seen a reduction in seizures? Are we seeing any help here? Talk to me about that.
Well, with Victoria, I can speak to her specifically because that's my child. I stay with her in and out, day in, day out. And when she was younger, they said, your daughter will not talk. She won't walk. She's going to die. You need to plan her funeral. And plan her funeral when you're in a level mind, so that when the time comes, because when someone dies, especially unexpectedly, you can't plan anything because your mind's chaos. So they said, take your baby home, plan her funeral, and worry about the quality of life, not the quantity. Don't worry about how long she's going to live.
I couldn't imagine that. And I'm saying that as the only person here who's not a parent, right? I couldn't imagine somebody telling me to essentially give up on my child and plan their funeral. Like, my eyes fill with water just thinking about what you're possibly going through when you hear that. That's wild.
Well, honestly, it made me mad.
I was thinking like that would kind of piss me off.
Right.
I was mad, and especially because insurance didn't cover it. My family came together and paid for the appointment because it was with a geneticist because she has mitochondrial disease. And so insurance didn't even cover. So my family paid out of pocket. So I'm like, my family came together, sacrificed their money for me to come to you, and you tell me my daughter's going to die?
That's crazy. And what is this disease? What does this mean?
Mitochondrial disease, it's typically, I guess, the mitochondria is, and please correct me because I think you're way much more educated than I am. The mitochondria, I think the mother passes it down and it's responsible for the energy, the mitochondria cell. And typically people with mitochondria deficiency, they have a lack of energy and they're affected differently, or they tire out easier and their organs shut down over time. But with Victoria, they said, she's not going to live long. She's going to not speak. She's not going to walk. And I was like, fuck you. We're going to do everything in our power. So I've been to Detroit. I met with a doctor. I've been to California. I got her a service dog. And then I moved to Colorado and got her oil because we couldn't get anything passed in Georgia. So I'd love for them to tell me that my daughter is not going to make it, because I'm going to show you that she is.
But she does walk now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I took her to the beach. That was the thing. Like doing therapy, hippotherapy, music therapy. And the only thing that worked was taking a break. We took a break. I was like, this is too much. We're doing hippotherapy, play therapy, music therapy, art therapy. And we went to the beach and she got up like a sea turtle and walked to the ocean. And I was like, the beach, just getting a break from all the therapies and just the beach. And I think she was 4 years old when she first started walking.
Wow.
What's that like for you as a mom, right? Like obviously we want to hear more too about how cannabis helps you guys in the day-to-day, but what's that like for you, for your day-to-day?
Oh, wow. Every day, I think it was Cheryl Powell.
Shout out to Cheryl Murray Powell, attorney at law.
Esquire.
Yeah, she's everything. She also does, everything.
And she left us with parting words after one of the calls. She said, live to fight another day.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's applicable, And if you think about it, it's applicable in advocating for the plant and just in everyday life. We just live to fight another day.
Now listen, Corey. Raya asked you a very direct question that you didn't answer.
Day to day?
No, she's asking you, how are you? How's Corey? What's going on? Like how are you as a mom? Well, not even as a mom. How is Corey as a person? Let's strip the title. Let's strip caregiver. Let's strip mom. Mm-hmm. To your core, are you okay?
That's a good question. I think that if you don't stop, you don't stop, you just keep moving, then you don't have time to not be okay. So you're okay because you keep on keeping on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't, there's no break.
It makes sense to the degree that I understand English, right? And I understand the concept. But, so when my mother got sick, she also was nonverbal. When my mother got sick, my grandmother became her primary caregiver, right? And I would drive to Florida at one point, like monthly, like once a month, and I would stay the weekend, and I would just take my mother away from my grandmother to get my grandmother to some type of reprieve, right? Because I want to make sure that my grandmother doesn't get burnt out. My grandmother still could go out with her friends and have a lunch or something, right? And so, are you able to have those types of moments? Are you able to still be Corey? Because once again, I don't have children, right? But just in the conversations that I have with Raya on the podcast and off, right? It oftentimes seems that people get lost in the mundaneness of parenthood, right? Or relationships get lost in the fact that they're co-parents, right? And so I just want to know, how are you?
That's a good question. How are you?
No, you're not going to throw it back at me. I'm great.
It is a tough question because I can't even imagine answering it. I can't.
I just want to say, I don't know how to talk on this thing. I just want to say, just kind of like to his point, I think I kind of understand what you're saying as far as like you just got to keep going, because it's like, it is what it is, and I don't think I'm one of the few moms you're going to meet who complains about being a mom, but my kids will never ever doubt how much I love them and how far I will go to be there for them. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a person that has feelings, that gets tired, that has a bad day, that's upset, that might be being irrational about the way that I'm handling a situation at that moment. But I'm always big enough to apologize for it. But my point being is just like, being a mom is just being a mom. And if you are really a stand-up woman, you're just going to accept your responsibility. That's just part of being an adult. Like, it's not going to always be a moment to relax. You're not always going to be, just, able to be selfish. You have to take those moments sometimes. And you just have to just accept the fact that you have to consider someone for a long time. And it is what it is. And even more in your situation, because your daughter requires you to really be very hands-on. So she's blessed to even have a mother like you to take on that dedication, because I don't think people realize being a good mother is a choice. Like, people think that's just, you're just, I can't believe she left her child. Well, she couldn't take it anymore. Sometimes we don't never want to talk about that. And I feel like we give excuses to men more than women. But like, especially as a working mom, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just kind of feel like it is what it is. Like, you take moments, I hope, when you can, but you just accepted your role, girl. You just an angel. So you just gotta fly with your head held high.
And I do get, if I'm being honest, I do get envious of moms. I've seen other special needs parents that will, and it's not please understand, it's not a dig to them. They will place their child in a home and go to the gym. Like, they go and date and go to the movies. And I'm sitting there like, ooh, how do you do that? Like, you know, like, more power to you, but I'm not doing that.
You know, so when I first moved to Atlanta, I lived in a carriage home in a random place in Dunwoody. And the landlord who also lived on the property, she had a special needs daughter who was a Prader-Willi. Are you familiar with that? I don't know why I would think she would be.
I've heard the name. It's a syndrome.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
Down syndrome.
Okay.
It's just a function of Down syndrome. And she actually placed her daughter in the house, and I was so concerned as to why. But you know what? She said these people provided, the home had a service that provided therapy and care and arts and crafts, and she was around people of her peers, and she was able to live some type of semblance of an independent life from her parents, right? And so I was like, wow, I get it, right? And I mean, I don't know, I'm just giving my opinion, take it or leave it. But actually, I'm gonna leave it. Never mind. For those who don't know, can you explain what RSO is? And don't just say Rick Simpson.
Okay. And I've been called out at the Capitol on the House floor and a committee hearing. And that makes me feel some kind of way.
Called out about what?
State legislators have said there are mommy lobby parents who had these parties, and he said barbecue. There was no barbecue. Lasagna, maybe. He said these parents would have these parties like Mary Kay or Tupperware, and they would have all these parents over, and they would make medicine like a Avon party. And they were very disgruntled about it. But what they were doing, teaching parents how to make medicine for their children with the RSO. So we would take the flower and we would have lessons and teach parents how to make medicine with the RSO and the alcohol and
So what is RSO?
the Rick Simpson oil or Fico full extract. It's the highest potency. It's the plant broken down, and it's the most highest THC you can get, the purest form, and it works very well for cancer patients. Both of my parents have stage 4 cancer. My dad has pancreatic cancer, and my mom has bone cancer. And
Wow.
sorry to hear that.
Very sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but thanks to the Rick Simpson oil, which helps cancer patients, that's high concentrated THC, the most that I've found as far as the levels of THC, because my dad's cancer markers were at 880 when he began, and I guess the oncologist didn't anticipate him making it 6 months, and I think his markers was down to his number was 68.
Wow, that's crazy.
So the RSO is doing its job.
Wow. In how long? How long's time?
My dad was diagnosed last September. And so I guess the doctors did not anticipate. They told him we didn't expect to have this conversation with you because we didn't think you'd be here.
Wow. You know, Raya, who you're looking at, is also a cancer survivor.
I am. Yeah. I was diagnosed with stage 0 breast cancer and had to have a mastectomy and reconstruction. But no, I'm cancer free. But yeah.
You know, I don't think people give you enough credit, right? And people are always probably like, stage 0, and they roll their eyes. You're a hater. But
Does everyone roll their eyes?
I've seen them. I've seen the feet.
No, he has not.
What? I was just at a knee camp.
You will be fought
Okay.
expeditiously. Let's go ahead and do that excerpt in the podcast right now. If anybody's rolling their eyes.
I don't think so. I think everybody.
Back to you, Amari.
That should be a segue, though. My mother,
Speaking of kicking ass.
yeah, she's she had breast cancer. My mother, she fought it in 2006, and then it has come back, I guess. And that's up for debate as far as like COVID vaccines and people saying that that's what stimulates. I don't know that to be true.
Yes. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to slam that. I didn't mean to slam that down. I When I was going through like all the testing and stuff I had to go through before having my vasectomy, there was a lot of study and a lot of question around like what arm I got the COVID shot in. And it was a thing. And it was also on my right side, which is also where I had cancer in my vasectomy. So I don't know. But it was up for question.
AstraZeneca or whoever?
I had Pfizer.
Did you have Pfizer or Moderna?
I don't do vaccines. No offense.
No.
Shout out to my father who made me feel like an idiot for not getting it. And now I'm looking at him like, what the fuck?
I feel like everyone who said not to get it, they knew. We all knew, but it just...
Both of my parents were like hard on about me getting the vaccine. Yeah. And like they both have gotten, all three of them. I have a stepmom too. Like all of them have gotten COVID multiple times.
You know, they do say that it doesn't, you get the vaccine, it doesn't keep you from getting it, right?
And I explain that to them.
Yeah.
It keeps you from getting
it bad
symptoms.
Right.
But you still catch it.
You're still
and you can still give it to someone else.
Correct.
And so I didn't understand like why I said, what is the point?
Yeah.
I eat spinach. I'll be okay.
Okay, Popeye. But yeah, I will say that was a big discussion.
Don't say.
Well, just make sure you get the testing, because my mom, I guess she said she didn't know or they didn't tell her, so she beat breast cancer. But this came back in her bone, and I joined a bone cancer support Facebook group, and they're like, "What kind of cancer?" And I was like, "She has bone." They're like, "No, what kind of cancer?" I'm like, I get in her chart, and I saw she got like, my mom got 4 or 5 or 6 shots, like boosters, because she knows how I feel. So she never told me. And then this came up because I was trying to determine, but it's actually breast cancer that has come back in her bones. So no one told her when she beat it in 2006, you need to keep it in check.
For sure. Every year, my mom, and then with the shots and I apologize. That's probably how I should have started with Victoria. She was born 9/11/01.
Wow. What?
That's crazy.
Be giving birth on the day that all
Jeez,
that's happening.
Man.
And
where were you in the country?
Downtown, Piedmont or Peachtree, Crawford Long on Peachtree Street. So I was downtown beside I think it's the tallest building in the Southern Hemisphere.
Wow.
So they were evacuating, and it was a terrible day. And the midwife, she kept saying air traffic control. She's like, he's gonna get fired. Air traffic. And when the second plane, she's like, he's definitely getting fired. And I was closing my legs, and I'm like, you ain't delivering this baby if you think air traffic control twice.
Right.
Wow.
So it was a crazy day to give birth, and the nurses wanted me to name her like after that day. They're like, oh, you need to name her September or Hope or Faith after today. And I was like,
that's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and work on this trauma by myself. Yeah.
And so she was this, perfect newborn 7-pound, 15-ounce baby Jesus, newborn baby. And it's a very somber day. Like nobody's happy. Nobody wants to come see me, which I totally get it. Take her home to Lithonia, and went to the pediatrician, and I said, my sister-in-law has a brother who's, at the time we had different terminology, but special needs, mentally slow. And I talked to my sister-in-law. I said, what's wrong with your brother? Why is he slow? And she's like, oh, it's vaccinations. It was the mercury and the vaccines. And now he has seizures and autism. And he's like 32. So we weren't that educated and familiar.
Right.
We just knew that somebody knew somebody who had a special needs family member. We didn't really know like the why or the how. And that got me to asking, because I was pregnant. I was like, well, what happened to him? And she's like, well, it's the vaccines, the mercury. So when I took Victoria for her shots, I was like, hey, my sister-in-law, her brothers, I was like, and she's like, oh, it's a 1 in 30,000 chance. And I was like, no, something's, this is a newborn baby. And so I did her vaccines because I was doing the right thing, what I'm supposed to do, follow the doctor. The doctor knows best. But I was crying when they gave her the shot. And I don't know, but I was crying hysterically because it was your newborn baby getting a shot. And then sure as shit, she started doing these little jerky things. And I was like, I went to Rockdale ER, and I was like, something's wrong with my baby. She's doing these little, and they're like, oh, it's reflux. So they gave us reflux medicine. Go back to the ER, she's still doing these little jerky things. They say it's heartburn.
This baby having a seizure.
Oh my gosh.
Steadily. And it was 12/26 9/11, because she was born 9/11/01, so she was about 4 months old. We were at Stonecrest Mall the day after Christmas shopping. She had like a full blown, like her eyes rolled back, and I called the lady in the jewelry store. She's like, seizure, and they called 911. Paramedics come out and they're like, well, we can transport her, but it'll be like $600.
Damn.
Or you can take it yourself for free.
How old is your daughter now?
23.
Oh, okay. Wow. So so she's not the oldest then. The boys.
She's the oldest, but she's the baby because she's in diapers and nonverbal. So she's the baby.
But you have 2 younger boys.
Correct.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. How have they felt about like cannabis? Just knowing, especially seeing, I'm sure they get to see up front and close, like the effect it has on their sister.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good question.
Because my kids came home from the DARE program.
Rage of snitch.
Yeah, I just did not like that, and I had to educate my children, and that's kind of like how I'm big on education, period, but
Right.
I just had to educate them on it because they would look at me kind of crazy sometimes, like, that's bad, you know.
I remember my brother, he called me he wanted to have a conversation, and I was like, you're not getting my Debbie Gibson album cover. What do you want? Like, what do you want?
Did y'all catch that? A Debbie Gibson album cover?
I wasn't going to get in her
I
business.
was.
Because just have manners.
We'll just roll past it. Okay.
Right.
So he wasn't gonna get your Debbie Gibson album cover.
I was like, note to self, Google Debbie Gibson.
We had albums back in the day.
I'm gonna
Records.
look right now.
She was pretty hot. He wanted to talk to me about Indians, and this is in the 90s, so we didn't have Google. He wanted to say, Corey, Indians use marijuana for medicine, so this is medicine. So I always had that in the back of my head because my brother didn't talk to me, so I was like, why is he talking to me now? And we were getting ready to have the DARE just say no, and he's like, I want to talk to you before you go to this thing at your school because they're going to tell you all this stuff, but marijuana is not a drug.
This is your older brother? Shout out to your older brother for the 90s for making sure you had the education.
I still didn't like him. But you're right. He's and I reverted back to that with my children because I kept thinking like, he's right. He's right. Indians did use it for medicine, and
Absolutely.
they didn't have Google. They knew. And so with my boys, I know they see it as medicine, and they now are old enough to partake if they choose to. And I think that seeing it firsthand, they know that I help people, and knowing that, we might go to their baseball game and I'm helping the coach or the umpire because everybody needs help in finding out how they can get what they need, medicine, and if they need a card. So they pretty much know that it's going to be the topic of conversation wherever we go.
That's super dope. Curious, did you have your 2 sons vaccinated?
Another good question. So Jaden, my middle child, I did. Well, I did. Because I was stupid and I thought that Victoria was just like a one-off, I was like, eh. And then Jaden, I was patrolling Clarkston, Church Street, and my husband texted me and said Jaden had a seizure, and I had an apartment in Decatur, so I was like, Jaden don't have seizures. Jaden, you mean Victoria? You just text me wrong kid. And he's like, no, I walked in the bedroom. Jaden's having a seizure. He had his shots that day. And I called and they said it was a febrile because he had a high fever. And I was like, that's a wrap. So now Jaden is high functioning autistic. He will more than likely live with us forever, as well as Victoria. But Joseph, the third child, I was and I didn't do shots, and he was playing baseball in California at age 18, living alone for a year. So he's the one I did not vaccinate, and so he's self-sufficient.
That's crazy.
Wow.
This is crazy. This is a lot of really insightful information.
For sure.
People are probably going to kill us in the comments. Anti-vaxxers.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Polio's a thing. I can hear my dad now. My dad's probably our only viewer as well.
One plane ride away is what the pediatrician kept saying. It's MMR, whatever, the measles, mumps. She's like, it's one plane ride away. It's one plane ride away. well, we're not hanging out at the airport, lady. Like,
I just, and just to really give some more perspective on that, I scrutinize what they put in my kid. Like, I'm not a doctor person anyway, because they never actually healed my kids from anything. Everything they always gave was to really ease the symptoms in the most non-natural way. It didn't really cure anything. Like, your body has what it needs to protect it from anything that's abnormal within it. It does what it needs to do to get it out of there. So for the most part, I was always able to ease whatever symptoms my kids have with natural remedies. But like, I didn't get, and as my kids got older, they just start introducing new things. And I'm just like, okay, polio did kill a lot of people, so that might be valid. Like
Fine. Polio, you win.
okay, you'll give her that one, but then when I looked up, every time I turned around, it was like a new vaccine had came out, and they stopped getting chicken pox and just all type of things. And so I just really took the time to really scrutinize stuff. But like, I don't, like, sometimes my doctors would just prescribe the stuff for the kids and I never go get it, and the kids were always just fine. Like, my kids have always been perfectly, don't let them eat a whole bunch of crap. Like, don't get me started on that. I just wanted to give another perspective. So what Omari said, nobody can call my friend an anti-vaxxer. She's just...
Who cares? Good for you.
That's Mariah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Who cares?
It's also fuck you.
It is also fuck you. And also, parenting is so fucking hard. Just at its easiest, and so fucking hard.
What I try to tell people is, because as a parent, especially your son being the age he is, because a lot of people will be like, let's just get past this stage. Because that's how you like, let's just get past the infant stage. And then they're toddlers. And then like, let's just get past this. And then you're in the middle school. Then you'll get past this. Then they're in high school. And then they're young adults. It don't end.
Yes.
It doesn't end. It just has different stages. And
I thought I was winning when he like slept through the night. Such a joke. He's like a real person now. The shit is real. And
I am an impatient parent. Like, all that using the bathroom on yourself, all that not being able to properly communicate a sentence, like, and it sounds ridiculous, but like, I really was kind of on them to like, okay, we gotta get this together. You gotta learn these skills. We're gonna learn how to do this, because at a certain point, I'm not gonna do it anymore.
But then you have with you, Corey, like, that's something that you have to do every day, even with your adult child, right?
Forever, ever. And I guess it's just now occurring to Jaden. I don't know why he never realized it, but he's 22 and all of them are 15 months apart. So she's 23 and he's 22 and Joe's 20. And so Jaden is just now realizing, he's like, what are you going to do with her when you're dead? I was like, I'm going to be dead. What are y'all gonna do with her?
Right.
I'm not gonna be worried about it.
Right.
That's kudos to you. That lets you know that you've been handling everything. So
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And so Joseph, the youngest, I've always told him, I said, because he's the most typical and self-staining. I said, you're gonna take care of your sister, right? And he's like, yeah. Who else is gonna do it? And I'm like, okay, well, we're on the same page.
Does he have to take care of his brother?
Ooh. I don't think so. The brothers don't brother.
Okay. Hopefully that changes. I'm an only child. Shout out to my little brother. But I'm gonna.
Right.
It's weird. My little brother is 19. He could have been my child. We also don't share biological parents, and so when I was coming up, he wasn't around. So shout out to my only child self. And he was also like an only child, right? But anyways, I get really jealous of some people who have siblings and have like great bonds with their siblings. He said, don't. Okay.
Nah, but it's cool.
I absolutely love having a brother. Like, that is my person more than any person on this earth. Yeah.
Shout out to Stephen Wu.
Why are you taking away my brother's moment?
I love Will. But shout out to Stephen Wu.
That was not a slight. That was absolutely not a slight to my husband.
You're not going to slight my boy.
That was not a slight. That is just exactly. That is just literally an example of how close I am.
brotherly.
To my brother.
You know what I'm talking about, my boy.
Anyway, I'm one of those siblings that like, no, that is my person. I hope they figure that out. I hope they work that out.
Yeah, I don't understand that. It's crazy because you could have the same parents, the same house, the same everything, eating the same cereal.
Yes. And be completely different. It's funny, my parents say the same thing about us because we are very different, as close as we are. We're very different. And my mom will say, she jokes all the time, how could you come from the same house, all these things, and you guys just be so different?
I forced my kids to be friends. So I never took sides. Like, I was kind of methodic about it.
Like an evil genius.
Yeah, like I was like, I want my kids to be close. Because none of my siblings, we don't share the same parents. We share the same dad or the same mom. And then one of my sisters, I didn't meet her till I was an adult. So I just really wanted my children to be very close. Like, I didn't want them like to be jealous of each other or think I was doing favoritism. So, like, if anything ever happened, everybody always got in trouble. It was never one person. It was always a unit. And after a while, they just started learning how to, like, problem solve amongst each other. It was weird. It's like I kind of, like, made myself the villain. Like, I sacrificed myself so they could build their relationship. And they talk about me behind my back, and I think that's so sweet. I be like, oh, y'all gonna get along. Y'all not gonna fight over the house.
I think that's smart.
I hope it works. So we'll find
It'll work.
So, Corey, you're also the executive director of Peachtree Normal. Tell us more about Peachtree Normal, what you guys do, how you do it, and how people can get involved.
Thank you. Yeah, Peachtree Normal, I think it's been a staple in the cannabis community in Atlanta since I know growing up, and especially going to the Capitol.
At least since 1974.
Shout out.
So that's a little bit of an inside joke, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. So Peachtree Normal was established before we were born. And so we had no takings in anything that happened. And so please don't hold anything against us if anybody had beef in 1973 with Peachtree Normal.
Save that. Take that up with somebody else, is what you're saying.
Sure,
Got
absolutely. Because apparently there's a target on your back, and that's no matter what. There's targets from internal cannabis advocates, and then there's targets from like the police. There's targets from family members who don't like you, people in the community who don't like what you represent. So it's just a shame that there's already so many targets, that there's internal targets. It's like, there's enough. Save it for somebody else. So Peachtree Normal, basically the way it came on my radar is at the Capitol. Alan Peake, former state representative, said, "Sis, stay away from those people. See the guy with the ponytail and the pot leaf label?
Noted.
Don't go around those people."
Well, what happened though?
What happened was, came home from the Capitol, and my son was like, "Mom, my friend at school wants you to call her aunt." I'm like, "Why? What'd I do to her? What happened?"
Right.
He said her name is Sharon Rayvert. I was like, "Oh shit, that's the lady we're supposed to stay away from." She's the executive director, and I don't really know whose title was who. I just know that I saw them at the Capitol. I was told to stay away from them, and my son came home and said, "My friend wants you to call her aunt." So I'm kind of like, what do you do? Do you do what you're directed by the state legislator, or you do what your son? So I'm going to do what my son said. I reach out, and it's Sharon Rayvert, and she's like, "Hey, we want to work with you guys. We've been doing this for years. Peachtree Normal, we've been trying to get something happening." And I was like, ooh, I can't tell her that they told us not to talk to her, because you don't want to tell somebody that they told me not to talk to you. So I just kept it in my back pocket and talked to her repeatedly. And
I do what I want.
And then I planned events with her, so don't tell anybody. It had to be all under the radar because I couldn't be photographed with them. So it was very weird, and I'm thankful for, now I see these pictures with like Tom McCain, who was the executive director, and now he's passed. Rest in peace, Tom McCain. But these small times where we had photos from the Capitol, and it's like, I'm glad I did that, even though they said stay away, don't be photographed, but I'm glad I have those. And so Sharon's kind of retired and focused on helping folks who have been arrested for having possession of the plant. That's her focus now.
So what does that even mean? Does that mean that Peachtree Normal advocates? So you guys advocate for the change of laws in Georgia,
Correct.
and then you guys support people who may have gotten arrested for possession of cannabis?
Correct.
Okay, and what type of support does that look like? What does that support look like?
Ideally, it would be court support. So if someone has a situation and they don't want to take the plea, which a lot of people push the plea agreement and a lot of people take it because the way they sell it to you in a nice little package with a bow. But a lot of advocates say don't accept the plea because we need to send a message to the community, to the police, the solicitors, the prosecutors, the judges, that this is bullshit, that we're spending money over 2.3 grams of flour prosecuting somebody. Like, why? Just why? And so court support would be, hey, this person got arrested for some marijuana and they need people to come alongside them. So when they're at court, because you already feel like you fucked up. You already feel like, you're down in the dumps, it's probably the hardest time of your life, really. And you already feel like you disappointed your family. So to have people there from Peachtree Normal, strangers who are saying, hey, I know you messed up, but tomorrow's going to be better and we're going to get through this together and we're here to support you. And so that means a lot for somebody who's been in the system and they turn around and they're in court and they want to hug somebody or say, what should I do? Should I testify? Not testify? Should I take the plea agreement? Should I not take the plea agreement? So Peachtree Normal has a duty to support those people who've been affected.
That sounds amazing. But you guys don't provide legal counsel, legal advice. Do you help them find lawyers?
There are lawyers, and if people know of more lawyers, because unfortunately there's still a lot of counties and cities that are prosecuting cannabis. And so there's only one attorney that we utilize now, Catherine Bernard. She's the cannabis attorney, but the state of Georgia is pretty big. So we need more freedom fighters to fight and say, don't accept the plea. Like, let's take this to court and let's take a jury trial and see what happens.
I love that. So how do people get involved with Peachtree Normal if they want to?
Well, luckily we have a new board and some new folks that are on and supporting. Thank you guys. But we've also joined other communities like Discord. And so we have the Discord, Peachtree Normal Discord. We, of course, have Peachtree Normal Facebook. And we have a website, social media like Instagram and LinkedIn. And definitely they can jump on and say, hey, we want to be a part of this because we're going to get back into the spotlight, back into the forefront, and back and helping bridge the gap with the other organizations like Grassroots and Georgia Medical Cannabis Society. So how can we come alongside and say, hey, let's lock arms together and let's do this together?
Wow. That's amazing. But there is a fee to join, correct?
I think it's $25 to join for a year for the membership, unless I think you can do an advocate level, which is $50, and then you can do different levels. But honestly, you don't even have to pay to join. If you just want to, we're going to get back to having public meetings, because they used to have public meetings at Manuel's Tavern 100 years ago, back before we were born. And so
1974, Paul.
Amen. And so the objective would be to get back into the public, and ideally it would be great to have meetings like Augusta or Cherokee County or Gwinnett and have more to kind of have more boots on the ground, more people in the trenches, so that when we do go to the Capitol, we got a posse.
Absolutely, because that seems like the only thing people at the Capitol, and by people I mean the lawmakers, only they really respect are the votes, right? And so if we're able to show up as the cannabis community in numbers, this is how we change things. This is how we move the cannabis agenda forward, right? At the beginning, you were mentioning like a statewide decrim bill. And what that would do is that would decriminalize the possession of marijuana up to an ounce, right? And just make it a ticketable offense. But I think that's the first step, right? We also need to put some teeth in place, because we've seen in communities like East Point that arrests went up after East Point decrim because they kept it in the discretion of the police officers. And they were like, okay, cool. We've been arresting them for this long. Let's keep arresting them. Then people go to jail, people go to court, people take a plea, right? When you can probably get a lawyer, get some support, and try to have the lawyer advocate on your behalf that this should be a ticket. Let's pay the $75 and go home.
Like the city of Atlanta.
Absolutely. No worries. We're sharing a mic. It's kind of awkward, but we're making it work.
Yes, we are.
Right. Cool. I mean, we appreciate you being here, Corey. All the work you're doing in the state of Georgia doesn't go unnoticed, right? I know this Saturday you will be at the Elevated Food and Wine Festival.
Yes, sir.
You have a table?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm excited. So what are you asking people to do when they come and visit your table there?
Well, we have a nice person who donated some t-shirts. And so we're going to invite people to come to our table. And if they could sign up to be a member of Peachtree Normal, that's great. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. There's no pressure.
No. We're pressure people. Put them in a headlock. Right? Like, I mean, you know what's going to happen, right? These people are not going to join, and then something's going to happen. Knock on wood, God forbid. They're calling. Hey, I need some support. My family lives out of town. I don't want them to know. Right?
That's what happened the other day. A lady messaged the Peachtree Normal Facebook page. She said, I'm from Asheville. I was a victim of the hurricane. I lost all my money and spent my savings. And she said, I was in Georgia and she said, it's legal up here in North Carolina. She came to see my family, got pulled over. I had a cartridge. It's a felony. What do I do? And I was like, don't take the plea. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but this is what happened in a situation close to me that I'm very familiar with. Take it to court, take it to trial, because you can fight this. And then she messaged me back. She said, they offered me a plea. I couldn't resist. Okay. Have fun. Good luck.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a cruel system, Yeah. Anyways, so we appreciate you being